Hey, brother. How's it going?
Awesome. It's going really well. How are you?
Yeah, great to meet you, man. Chuck says some great things about you. I'm excited to interview you and kind of find out more about your business and see how we can serve. Um, so thanks for being here today.
Yeah. Honestly, Chuck was a really friendly face to start off my relationship with MyOutDesk. And then ever
Yeah.
since then, we went through a series of interviews and had an account manager to work with. But Melody has been our key kind of contact with MyOutDesk until very recently. We heard from you guys that you wanted to hear a little bit about what we've been doing with Melody and how the business is
Yeah.
evolving. So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Tell me, so let's start at the beginning. Tell me about what you do. You've got like a cool business. It's different. Like I think you might be like changing how colleges and students actually interact, which what a great mission, man, because my college sucked. I had no idea what I was doing and it was bad, man. So tell me about what you guys do.
Sure, yeah. So my story really starts from back when I was a student.
Yeah.
I realized, throughout my 4 years that I loved the content that I was learning. I was an
Yep.
accounting and finance major,
Yeah.
but the moment I got a chance to apply what I was learning to a real job, which at the time was an internship at KPMG, I realized, um, first of all, that firm structure, the Big Four mentality wasn't for me.
Yep.
And also the field wasn't really interesting, although I loved the content. And I said, how are these two domains that are supposed to be conceptually similar just so different? And
Yeah.
what I realized is you don't get any practical experience in college. And
Yep.
basically
Amen.
that's the X we've been solving for ever since I graduated, is really how do you bring real world experience into college programming, and we can't figure out a better way to do that than actually integrating companies into the education process.
That's phenomenal, man. So, I first of all, I love your mission. You and I are similar. I have a finance degree. I went to work for Barclays, BGI, Barclays Global Investors. I was a fund manager, so I'm in, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then I got into the job, and I was like, holy crap, I hate this. I this was dumb. I should have never been a finance major. So then I started being an entrepreneur, which is what I'm actually tied to do, like you probably. Um, so talk to me about your model. How does your model work? What do you do? Like, I'm super interested because I think there's such a big need for what you're talking about in society.
Yeah, it's a good question, and frankly, I'm sure same with my Outdesk. It
Yeah.
evolves, right? I mean, and I think one of the cool things when I was just speaking with Chuck, he was saying, "Hey, you
Yeah.
guys started with real estate, but a lot of the skills are transferable, especially the ones we're leveraging Melody for."
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, long story short, I actually started a company previously which went after the case study model, trying to improve how relevant, how timely that content was,
Yep.
and video, and tried to make it engaging for millennials and Gen Z. And
Right.
throughout that process, I learned a lot about what is and is not experiential learning. And I look at CapSource as pretty much like the is the brand, the go-to brand for experiential learning. That's what we really want to be. And
Nice.
there's a lot of different products and services that we've now developed out underneath that brand to serve higher ed, mostly administrators and what we call experiential learning coordinators. But
Right.
basically, we spent the last 2.5 years pounding the pavement, developing relationships with schools, and identifying programs that were trying to connect with companies but ultimately needed help with that process. And
Yeah.
so we actually did like kind of the facilitating of the relationship and the design of the collaboration. So we kind
Nice.
of look at that product almost as a combination between a case study and a consulting project,
Sure.
where it's a little bit kind of self-study. You could do it on your own, but it has a live third party that's there to answer questions and give feedback and kind of provide that real world element. So we've been coordinating those for a little over 2 years now, done about 100 engagements with 30 different schools. And
Wow.
after that, we've actually just recently launched a software platform, mainly designed originally for us to do our own process faster. And then
Right.
few of our clients were like, hey, we actually want to white label that and use that as our process, as our technology. And so
Wow.
that's kind of the new frontier for us, is really going into anything from the software that we built and kind of a SaaS solution, all the way through managed services, where we're connecting companies and schools like we worked traditionally the last few years.
That's cool. Okay, so because I even though I have a finance degree, I like to slow it down. So you go to companies and say, "Hey, we're going to get you some interns," and then you go to colleges and say, "Hey, we're going to get you some experience, actual experience to kind of pair with education, so people are really served at a high level." And then you sit between them and you help them work that out. How do you make money in that? Like, how do you drive revenue in that? Because colleges are horrible about like that. They're like, I'm not in business. I don't know. It's just bad. How do you make that work?
It's a good question, and it's certainly not easy, right? I mean, education is an impact field. It's not, it's not the field you would go into if you're trying to make, massive amounts of money. But
Yeah.
the cool thing with our model is we actually start with the school, not the companies, and that's a primary reason why we're different than a traditional talent marketplace.
Yeah.
Because we're really focused on the educational goals of these engagements, where anything like recruiting and employer branding and even the outcomes that the students generate are kind of gravy. All of our engagements are built based on very clear, narrow requirements set by the schools.
Yes.
And, if it's an MBA program at Notre Dame and they want, opportunities for their students to work with, nonprofits and social ventures, then we have to find those nonprofits and social ventures. But sometimes it's even more in depth than that. Sometimes it's, hey, we want a product case or a go-to-market strategy or an investment analysis for these, social impact ventures. And then we have to find companies that fit that mold. And that's why the business model is actually to generate revenue on the university side of things rather than the company side of things, because really the company is the case study. We would love to be able to charge them, but because we don't actually intervene with any of the project execution, the customer is the school, and the benefactor. Yeah, the students are the ones who really benefit. After we forge these relationships.
That's awesome, man. So drive into the results that you've gotten with Melody. And I actually, she's a wild one. I actually know her and we've spent time together and I helped her with a previous client. She's not only is she an amazing human being, but she's really good at what she does. So like, let's dive. How are you using, our virtual professionals to drive revenue for your business? Like what's the real results that you're getting,
Yeah, I mean, so I actually didn't know how much I needed this until I spoke to Chuck. And it's funny, and my original, how I found MyOutDesk was I was reading through a Facebook forum on Morning Brew, which is another company we've done some work with in the past.
Okay.
And they were actually asking, like, where do you guys find like admins and operators, to help with executing business. And there was this whole long thread, and MyOutDesk was actually one of them that popped up in the comments. And I went there and kind of saw how cool it was to just, to leverage international talent that specialized in a lot of the things that we needed help for. And the onboarding process was pretty simple. Like it was, hey, let's find out what you need to do, and then we'll cross-reference that with the skills that we have with our virtual professionals. And we actually interviewed 3 prior to Melody, and when Melody hopped on, the combination of her excitement and charisma, I think, is what got me locked in. And I said to her, I wanted to give everybody a second chance to interview. And then Melody had spent, I think, probably the entire night looking through the website and just soaking in every piece of information that we had on there, which I've never seen anybody do before. So I was just flattered by how much she was able to retain and regurgitate to me based on what she had learned overnight. And I figured if you could do that overnight, then she was going to be a huge fit for our team moving forward. So I think it's been almost 6 months with Melody, which is super exciting.
Bam.
I mean, the cool thing about our business is that I really look at it as two sales funnels that have to have like a nice little matching,
Yeah, that's right.
threading two needles with
Yeah.
one yarn. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so basically, we started Melody off on the sales side of the organization with institutions, really
Yep.
doing a lot of the SDR work, sales engineering, anything
Yep.
from lead scraping. She manages the entire CRM, all the way through when we actually closed a few opportunities. Now we have to implement, and that's a whole lot of outreach to companies trying to figure out, based on this very narrow criteria, who can cooperate here. And
Right.
it's honestly been amazing. We've been able to really generate probably 2 to 3 times the amount of traction that we would normally have otherwise, just because of having Melody on the team to rely on.
Yeah, but okay, that sounds salesy. What have you made since you've hired Melody? Because now you're not the one prospecting and being an SDR. Like, what's the real return on investment?
So, I mean, the ROI has got to be at least 3 to 10x, depending on how this year turns out for us. I mean,
Yeah.
we have, our site's set on doing about 200,000 in revenue this year. We did about 9
Nice.
last year, 30 the first year, no venture funding, completely bootstrapped
Right.
business. And obviously it's very challenging to be able to identify team members, especially stateside, that could play for these types of salaries. And so having someone like Melody to be able to cooperate and play ball in our model has been
Yeah.
just huge. So yeah, we've already booked over 100,000 this year. And we're coming up hopefully on a strong fall semester, which will generate that kind of remaining 90,000 that we're looking for, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, assuming that this happens. I mean, Melody's really the first full-time employee besides me that we brought onto the team, and
Wow.
just being able to do any of this without a full team is pretty amazing to me. So we're super fortunate to have her by our side, and part of our team meetings and our regular kind of day-to-day operations.
Yeah, because you used to have to do all of that work.
Oh yeah.
What about how'd you make it work? Like, because she had to learn everything. She had to take what was in your brain and like get it in her brain, and then she had all the FAQs, right? Like, when you say this, what do I say, boss? Like, how do I talk about this? And I don't even know. I mean, there's just so much in transferring the knowledge. 6 months in, you're still kind of in it. She probably is doing. She's probably performing at like 70 to 80%, but she hasn't mastered it yet. She will probably in a year or two. But how did you get? Oh, you don't even agree with that. You think she's already mastered it. Is that right?
I think so. So we have a very like an education first model of
Yeah.
training with our company. So it's like, look, this is all learning for all of us. Like none of it. There is
Right.
no recipe that we're following. This is
You're
like
building the model. You're building the model. You're innovating how students learn.
right. And I think the amazing thing, and it's I guess a testament to the quality of training and vetting that you guys do as an organization, which is I guess the main reason why we would go with MyOutDesk over any other outsourcing agency is Melody kind of understood how to use a CRM before she ever stepped foot into the business. She
Right.
understood how to have a sales conversation, whether it's by phone or by LinkedIn Messenger or email. She understood the protocols of when you forward, when you CC, who, like, how to actually do a series of outreach, where there's a drip campaign that needs to happen afterwards. And,
Right.
before we automate it, we want to test it. And to have somebody who knows how to do that from the get-go, I mean, it really felt like there wasn't much training that we even had to do. And of course, every once in a while you got to grease the wheels and kind of fix things here and there. But, it's been a really smooth sailing experience ever since she's got started. I think basically the results were there. A week later, we were booking meetings left and right, which was literally impossible to do by myself. Swivel chair, start with sales, go all the way to implementation. No one else is focused on selling anymore. So how are you going to get those new meetings booked? With Melody coming in, we're getting anywhere from 5 to 10 new sales meetings a week with prospects, which for us is just how we make it's how we make the sausage.
Right, right. So it sounds like you might be ready for another one. Like what I'm hearing is like Melody's filled up your revenue pipeline, and you might be ready for somebody on the execution side, maybe somebody to help with implementation.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. I mean, I think the exciting thing is I was actually having a conversation with Chuck about this a few
Yeah.
days ago. And I was like, I could really see how, there's prospecting that's happening on both sides, but if we could specialize each one of our VAs to be focused exclusively on either, finding the companies to fit the criteria of the schools or sales prospecting with the schools, then we can actually probably increase our efficiency and throughput. So there's definitely, beyond that, I've always talked about you guys ever since Melody's become part of our team. Anytime I've spoken to business owners and I'm like, hey, if you really need someone who can help just keep things in order. I mean, that it's a very prudent investment for the amount that you can get out of it. So I think a second one, hopefully even more than that at some point, is on the horizon for us at CapSource.
That's awesome, Jordan. What can we do to help? Like anything that we can do for you? I'm always here to serve. Like it's part of our core values, like servant's heart. What do you need right now?
Honestly, we're always looking to connect with more companies that are eager to be a part of the education process. Uh,
Okay.
I think the challenge is there's a shifting paradigm in higher ed. They aren't by any means at a place where I would say they've mastered it, but there's a lot of trial and error going on.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the error, like there's inherent error in learning, or else there's no lessons, right?
Right.
One of my biggest mentors has always said there's no such thing as losing, it's just winning and learning.
Yep.
And I think that companies going into this thinking, hey, this is free consulting, free labor, this is going to be great. Well, it might be a great way to get them through the door, but that's not a good way to get them to stay. And also to really kind of conceptually value what we bring to the table as an organization that's trying to innovate the way that students learn in higher ed.
That's awesome, dude. We are absolutely interested. So I don't know how we get involved, but I'm sold because I would never have spent 3 years of my life at that finance job had I been in your world. Like I just wouldn't have done that. In fact, since I was 7 years old, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And then I went to college, and the mantra in college was get a degree, do really well, get a job. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess that's what everybody does. And I forgot like that childhood dream of like just being my own guy. And then I got woken up. I was like, oh, this sucks. And I think your solution would have avoided all that for me. So yeah, I'm 100% in. Any way we can support. We got jobs. We need people. We need salespeople and ops people here. So you just let us know what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean it's great to know, and honestly, I think schools would absolutely love thinking and mulling over the business model. And
Yeah.
we always start by giving projects about like the broad spectrum of the business, whether it's like looking at the product, looking at the industry and competitors. Really giving students a chance to sink their teeth into something, because a lot of times you're like reading textbooks and case studies about companies from like 5 to 10 years ago. It's like just Google it, find out what they're up to now.
Right.
Use an active team that's willing to kind of sit by and answer some of your questions. And once they have a grasp, which we usually about a third to a half of the time it takes them to kind of get to that point,
Right.
the rest of it is about driving home value. And it comes down to how well it's facilitated by the faculty and also the company, because they're a big part of this process. So
Yeah.
there's sales cases, process optimization cases that we put together, really all about, actually giving students a chance to say, okay, I've heard of sales, but what does it actually mean to think
Right.
about a sales strategy? Or who is the target audience? And is that really who the target audience should be? And
Right.
and sometimes the most valuable part of these experiences for the companies is just answering some of the questions that these students have gets
Sure.
the entrepreneurs or business leaders to think about their challenges differently than they ever would have. And it's
Yeah.
like that naivety slash that kind of like greenfields, brand new kind of mindset that hasn't been like at all tampered with by, training and existing
Right.
infrastructure. And
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of companies really value, participating in these engagements. And, we have our one of our companies, Hungry, which is based in the DC area. They're about to engage on their 6th project with us. And
Nice.
one of their students that actually went through a project with them is now an employee at CapSource. So
Nice.
he really went full circle, experienced it from a student perspective, went to the CEO of that company and said, hey, I want to be a part of this team. And then after that, realized how powerful the experience is about being able to learn before you become a candidate or even an employee. And
Mm.
so he's joined our team about 2 years ago. His name is Ankush. And he also, interfaces with Melody as
Yeah.
part of our day-to-day kind of ops. So it's been really cool to see how this business can actually impact lives and make a huge difference. For someone like you who's back in school, how do you even know you want to be an entrepreneur? Well, it's one thing to like try and start a company knowing nothing about what it's like to even work at a company, but
Right.
maybe give these students an opportunity to like peek under the hood and work with entrepreneurs on their challenges, and then
Yeah.
take some of that as anecdotal evidence of, how do you actually be an entrepreneur? What's it like to be in the field and, wrestle with complex challenges that have no answer?
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us together. Do you guys ever do anything in so we're next to Davis, and then Sac State. So I don't know if you do anything on the West Coast, but it'd be super cool to do something with their MBA. Both schools have a great MBA program.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken. That's a big system. The California system is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm based in New York, and most of our clients are the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, tri-state New York, and
Yeah.
the Chicagoland kind of Midwest are our
Yep.
big like client constituencies. And the interesting thing is a lot of our schools are kind of open to either remote projects or international projects. So
Okay.
there's, in a lot of cases, you can facilitate this entire experience without ever physically connecting the students with the company. But,
I might be totally okay with that. Having saying that we have 1,200 virtual professionals that work for us, like you don't have to be in the same office, but I would encourage you to explore the California system because, like you said, it's huge. Plus, all you got to do is tell them, "Hey, New York is doing this, and you don't want those efforts to beat us, do you?" And then they're like, "Wait, New York?" you know.
exactly. Put those
But
two competing states. I mean, that's
that's
amazing.
right. That's right. We think in California, we believe that we lead this nation. And so that's all you have to do is play on that,
Yeah,
ignorance right
yeah.
there.
I hear the California ego in you.
That's right. That's right. Look, I got flip flops. Like, I don't know if you can see this, but there's flip flops on right now. Right now.
Hey, it's a Friday.
That's
We
right.
can all be comfortable. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the truth of the matter is, I think you should be very proud of what you've created, with MyOutDesk, because, I think, we've all talked about, the world is becoming more and more virtual, but for you to, put a stake in the ground and say it actually not only can it be virtual, but it can be easy, right? It's
Yeah.
like actually it can be easy for you to offload certain tasks that don't require a ton of oversight and intervention, but just need to be done. And you could just train someone who is really in need of a cool opportunity,
Yep.
kind of leverage those two needs. You're a market maker, right? Just like me.
Yep. Yep. And it's interesting. Our models are really similar because we have to find the talent and we have to find the client and then we have to make sure they're a good match. And then we only win if it's long term. Like,
Right.
when if you came and said, well, Melody's cool, but she's not hitting numbers, we'd be like, well, that's not a win. And so we're lucky enough to have a lot of people like you say Melody's hitting numbers, and doing great.
Yeah, so I would love to hear from you. Like, how do you see MyOutDesk evolving, like over the next few years? I know you're over 10 years into this business, right?
Yeah, we're 12 years old. We kind of got our foothold in the real estate space, and I I've learned a lot. and we're like right now we're in that scale mode. So we believe 2020 is going to be one of our like stupid growth years. We've had some stupid growth years, man, like 274% one year, and that was just nuts. But 2020 is going to be a big one. I'm pretty certain we're going to be at 45, 50% growth, which is going to be nutty. We're kind of laying that groundwork right now. Like Chuck's almost 2 years with us. We just hired a whole bunch of new people. And so the challenge for us has been, we've been in real estate. Now we have to translate that into 5 other industries, 5 other verticals, right? And so that's where we're kind of nailing up against the challenge zone. And in the last year, we've been perfecting that system of finding people like you who aren't real estate people, right? And so it's slowly starting, like 5% of our clients, oh, not real estate, good. Now it's 10, now it's 15. And so we think we can build this real estate one and then just keep building these other verticals at the same time. So our world is just expanding our reach to other industries. And 2,000-ish people in real estate, and then 5 or 6 other kind of verticals. We think we can get to 1,000 to 2,000 in those verticals. So 6,000 people is the long-term like vision for the business, and 6,000 lives and people like you are happy clients. I'd be in nirvana right there. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, the transferable skills, I think it's all about that, right? So like they have so much of an understanding of just generally business process, and
yep.
A lot of that can be kind of quickly interchanged with other types of vernacular, other types of processes. At the end of the day, a CRM is a CRM, a sales process funnel is a sales process.
Yep.
So we had a quick experience getting Melody up to speed, and it's just been great to be able to leverage her and continue building a relationship. I mean, she's part of our weekly meetings, part of our huddle and everything that we do to try to keep the business on the top of everyone's mind and eager and excited to keep growing. So we're certainly very proud to be making progress, and I don't think it'd be possible without her.
It's crazy. You know how I said like wait a year or two? Like I know this sounds nuts, but this is just 12 years of experience. We have a gal and we have a couple people on our team who have these massive. Alvin's a great example. You met him earlier, been on the team forever. Like they just know things, and there's like this, they know what to do. They know when to do it. They know who, like something's going to happen once you have a bunch of our VAs that have gotten like 5 years of experience, 3 years of experience. You're going to feel this like zoop, like it's going to zoop like that. And it's going to be growth and scale. And you're like, oh my goodness, how did I do this? I can't believe that not everybody's doing this. And I swear you're going to see a massive shift. Your business, that hockey stick starts happening. And dude, I can't wait. I can't wait for you to transform education. I really can't wait for you to do that.
I guess I got to ask you, if you had to give yourself advice for, you're emerging out of undergrad, if you were able to give yourself, a little chunk, a little nugget, what would you tell yourself?
You know what? I'm going to tell you, I put all of that into a book. If you got something to write down real quick, if you text 31996, if you text SVP to that number, I've all of my 12 years of experience. So it's Scale with Virtual Professionals, SVP, and it's 31996. So it's like 12 years of my brain, 12 years of running this organization, making every mistake that you can imagine that a business guy could make. Like literally, I've made them all. And we put it all into that book, man. My heart and soul is into that thing. So grab it. I'd love your feedback. Tell me what you think of it. Tell me which parts you can implement and which parts you can't. But yeah, I think to answer your question though, just stay on purpose, man. I think entrepreneurs, and I'm guilty of this. I'm like, I'm going to start this. I'm going to start that. I'm going to start, I just talked to a guy who last year his revenue was $140 million, and he's walking me through all of his different entities. And he's an entrepreneur on like fire. Like he's like working 14 hours a day, like blah, blah, blah. and he's really successful. So he's that weird, really successful. His brain is compartmentalized and he can manage multiple projects and probably has a great memory, great leadership acumen. He's unusual. Most of us need to just focus on one thing and stay on purpose and like rock it out. So my advice is stay on purpose, be really clear about where you're going, upgrade your leadership every single day you can, learn, and surround yourself with great people to mastermind with. Dude, you need to get into, I'm in this organization called GoBundance. You need to jump in. It's amazing. Google it, GoBundance. You should check it out because we'd love to have you in it. But that's my advice.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Honestly, that's the one question I always ask entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs, business leaders, like, because the truth of the matter is like we're serving as a bridge, but what's hard for students to conceptualize is that these folks were actually just students once too. And they figured all this out, and giving them a chance to kind of feel the connection, from where they're at to where they could be, whether it's as an entrepreneur or investment banker or real estate agent. I mean, really, the truth of the matter is, I always say, like, leave no stone unturned. And some stones are harder to turn than others. And if it's engaging to you and it seems exciting, then give it a shot, and give it a real shot. And you got to find exactly what you said, those mentors, those connections that can really elevate your understanding. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, you're screwed. I would be screwed. Hey, Jordan, I might want you to meet with our trainer. We have a mod trainer. I love your experiential stuff. I might ask that you guys, she's new, so we're getting her trained, but we might make an introduction and have you guys juice together. She's like she has an MBA in teaching and coached other teachers at the school level, but it would be cool to kind of see what kind of juice you guys can get flowing together. Who knows what could happen,
Yeah, I think the cool thing is we're cooking up a storm in higher ed, but now all these students are graduating knowing that experiential learning is the way to go. And I think the next frontier is, how do you bring experiential into workforce training, professional development, and things along those lines. So I think we're excited. I mean, there's definitely a possibility for us, once we are connecting the schools and students, to then go into the companies afterwards and say, hey, let's revamp the way that you think about training and development.
I love that, dude. I think that's great. Well, Jordan, we've got no more time. What else? What would you like to end with? What could I do? What's our last thing that you want to kind of touch on?
Honestly, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of your community. Frankly, Dan, we are partners, right? I mean, we're looking to figure out how to scale our business, leveraging you as a resource. We have our engineering team, and we look at them as a partner, and same thing with our, outsourced, other parts of our marketing. So it's really like, for us, just continuing to keep this relationship going and evolving. And, for sure, we'd love to see you guys take on projects or other companies within the, MyOutDesk network. If anybody's interested in kind of taking a peek at some of the emerging talent and working on really cool research projects, we'd love to really leverage this community, because frankly, I think that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, joining communities, being a part of community and building that is something I take a lot of pride in. And, I certainly would recommend, one of my favorite books is The Art of Gathering. And it's really all about, like, how do you bring people together meaningfully and create an environment where there's an exchange of values and information. And, that's technically like something I try to put into every one of these learning experiences, but it comes down to building community. So it's by Priya Parker, highly recommended.
I'm gonna read that one. Watch out, man. Maybe I'll read that and then we'll circle up, man. Jordan, I appreciate your time, brother. And if there's anything that we can ever do, just reach out. We want to be of service. If you have an engagement that makes sense for us, let us know. We're open. So we're open to that.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll get an inbox from Melody soon enough.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, huh?
You too, Dan. Take care.
Thanks.